Hey guys, welcome back for another video. Well, this is it. This is the last game of the 24-25 college football season. The entire season, we've been going over all these games, and we've finally reached the end. The national championship is going to be coming up this Monday, January 20th, and we have a really good one. We have the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is two of the biggest brands in college football history facing off. This is defensive team on defensive team. It's going to be a slugfest in the trenches, line of scrimmage, trench warfare type game. Old school style football. Probably not going to be a shootout, but it's going to be a competitive, fun game. We're going to completely break down this matchup, break down the teams, the rosters, try to predict the outcome. Who's going to win, who's going to lose, what the final score will be. We will also touch on the best bets, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. First things first, though, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Every week, we've gone over every single college football game. We also broke down all the preseason stuff. We will do the same thing for the 25-26 season. And we also broke down every NFL game, and we'll be doing that all the way up to the Super Bowl. We have the NFL playoffs going on this weekend as well, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I also have the Twitter handle down below. Make sure to follow us there. But let's go ahead and get started. We don't want to take any attention away from this game. It's going to be on ESPN, the College Football Championship, presented by AT&T, January 20th, 7:30 p.m. Number 8, Ohio State Buckeyes, 13-2 coming in here. They are coming in hot. They had the hardest path to the national championship in the playoffs. They beat the crap out of everyone on their way. They had Tennessee. They beat the SEC Tennessee Volunteers. Then they came in. They beat the unanimous number 1, the Oregon Ducks. They curb stomped Oregon. Went through them. They lost to them earlier. They made up for it. Then they faced off with the runner-up to the SEC, the Texas Longhorns. They beat them. They've shown last week they can beat you multiple ways. They have the number 1 defense in all of college football. They can beat you with their offense. They can beat you with their defense. They can beat you with their special teams. They've shown adaptability. Depends on who they're playing. Some games might call for the defense to win, like last week versus Texas. Some games might call for the offense to win. Think the Oregon game. This is a very talented team. This is a very talented coaching staff. Ryan Day, a lot of pressure on him this season. His seat was hot. I think he's definitely cooled that down right now. He's in the national championship. He will either win the national championship or he'll at least finish number 2, worst case scenario in the nation. But he has a great coaching staff. He has Knowles. He has Chip Kelly, one of the greatest offensive minds in college football history, but they're going to be facing off with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they lost to NIU early on this season. Hands down, the worst loss of the college football season for any team this season. But then they made up for it. Props to Marcus Freeman, props to Denbrock, props to Al Golden. They got this team back on track. They fixed their mindset. They got them focused on the target being the national championship. Back when they lost that game, people were laughing at them. People were making fun of them. They rallied this team together. They got better every single week. One of the hottest teams going into the playoffs. That's when you want to be hot, is leading up to the playoffs, and they've been able to carry that momentum, ride that wave all the way up to the national championship team. They've been led by their defense, a suffocating physical defense. They get after it. They have a rushing-based offense. They ground and pound you on the ground. You got to stop them over not 1, not 2, not 3. You have to compete with their physicality for 4 quarters at the line of scrimmage. This is going to be a fun game. This is the number 1 defense in the nation versus the number 3 defense in the nation. It's going to be probably a lower scoring game, but it's going to be one that you got to watch. It's probably going to go down to the 4th quarter. Right now, the Buckeyes, 55.4% chance to win this game. Notre Dame, a 44.6% chance. The Buckeyes, heavy favorites here. 8.5-point favorites. The over-under's 46.5. A lot of people that don't like Notre Dame might say that obviously shows that it's going to be a blowout. Well, let me tell you this. Since the national championship has gone to a playoff format, since there's at least been 4 teams, the average win margin for the national championship games is 20 points per game. So every national championship game has basically been a shootout, blowout game. These are usually not close games. We would like to think that that's a massive spread, but technically it's really not. But do not underestimate Notre Dame. Notre Dame is actually exactly where they want to be. They don't want to be favored in this game. They don't want to be a 3-point underdog. They want you to not be taking them serious. That's happened every single game. They've surprised everyone. When will people learn? You have to respect Notre Dame. You have to respect Marcus Freeman and this team. Marcus Freeman, it's hard to root against the guy. Even if you're a diehard anti-Notre Dame fan, you gotta like Marcus Freeman. Seems like a really good dude. And what he's done to Notre Dame, somewhere right now, Chip Kelly's pissed off sitting on the couch. He left Notre Dame, said you could not compete for national championships there. Went to the SEC. He's on the couch. Marcus Freeman is in his office right now preparing for the national championship. That's college football. That's great stuff. Got to love it. Looking at Ohio State, Ryan Day's team, this is as talented of a team as anyone has fielded this season. Right now, ESPN had them as the number 3 overall team, just barely behind Georgia and Alabama, but they can compete with anyone at every single position. When you look at this team blue chip wise, 4 stars, 5 stars, projected first round picks, they are right up there. They have more talent than Notre Dame. Talent does not guarantee or equal wins, or the Aggies would have at least had a national championship in the last 2 decades. It just doesn't work that way. It comes down to coaching, scheme, and talent, and just who wants it more. Right now for the Buckeyes, they're going to be led by Will Howard, 3,800 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 10 picks. He has 7 rushing touchdowns this season. He's the transfer from Kansas State. He's not a running quarterback, but he is a mobile quarterback. He can use his legs. If you flush him out of the pocket, he can scramble for first downs. He can take off. They can have quarterback design runs. He can get those 3rd and 1 first downs, 4th and 1 first downs. He can use the tush push. He's the type of guy who can get you that yardage on the ground. That could be the difference maker. But he's always keeping his eyes down the field. The reason they lost to Michigan, and it's probably a good thing that they lost to Michigan, again, was that got them to adapt their mindset. Chip Kelly, way too run happy that game, running into the teeth of the Michigan defensive front 7. Not a smart move there. Ohio State Buckeyes, they're down 3 starters on their offensive line. They've been shuffling guys in there. They have a great duo running back set, one of the best 1-2 running back combos in the nation. But their offensive line was banged up. So you have the best wide receiver core in the nation. Egbuka, Smith, Tate, so many first-round picks at wide receiver. Smith, probably the best true freshman we've seen in college football history at the wide receiver position. Use them. Throw it up to them. Push the ball down the field. After that Michigan game, they came out to Tennessee. They were chucking it. Completely caught Tennessee off guard. They didn't know what to do. They carried that into the Oregon game. You have the wide receivers. Use the pass to open up the run game. That's what they did. Henderson, Quinton Junkins, great running backs. The passing game opened up the running game, and then when the running game then gets started, that in turn continues to open up the passing game with the play action passes, completely keeps the defense off guard. You are able to dictate the pace of the game. You have the opposing defense playing to whatever you want them to do. You are dictating the pace of the game. That is important. The Buckeyes average 35.8 points per game, solid offense, throwing for 271.3. Running for 163.2, but that's not it. They have stars on offense, but it's the defense where you have to give the Buckeyes praise. The number 1 defense in the nation, even though they've played 15 total games so far, played more games than everyone else, and still they held on to that number 1 spot, giving up 12.2 points per game. Sawyer and company, they showed how deep they are. That defensive front 7 is disgusting. They get after it. They want to blitz you. They want to play man-to-man. They'll go into zone. They'll do anything they have to do to disrupt the pass, get after the quarterback, top 10 in sacks, top 10 in tackles for a loss, top 10 in quarterback pressures. They are going to be coming after Riley Leonard. He's going to have his head on a swivel. They showed when it matters in the 4th quarter versus Texas, they're going to come get you. They're not going to drop. They're not going to be dropping people into coverage. They have their ears pinned back every single snap. They're coming for blood every play. Even when the game is on the line, they're not changing the way they play. They want to be aggressive from the 1st quarter to the 4th quarter. The number 1 defense. They only give up 184.4 passing yards per game. That is top 10 secondary in the nation. 89.9 opposing rushing yards per game. Top 10 in the nation. Very balanced. Great secondary. Great front seven. So that gives this defense a lot of confidence. They can throw multiple combos at you because they trust their secondary to play man-to-man. They trust their defensive front seven to get consistent pressure over the course of 4 quarters. Looking at Notre Dame, I've been very hard on Riley Leonard since he was the Duke quarterback. I've been saying this guy's not an accurate passer by any means. I have not changed my stance on that. He is not an accurate passer by any means, but one thing he can do, well, 2 things he can do. He is a mobile quarterback. He can scramble. He can extend plays. He's as good of a running quarterback as we have in the country right now. They will use him to run a lot. A lot of quarterback design runs, 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s. He's going to be running the ball, quarterback sneaking it. He's a guy you have to keep your eye on. When you have that, you start to inch those corners in. Start to keep those linebackers up close. Can't drop the linebackers in the coverage. That's when they can hit you with the play action pass. He runs the ball, and he runs a play action scheme very efficiently. Don't take him outside of his comfort zone. Play to his strengths, and it will work wonders for you. Right now, he has 2,600 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 picks, and he has 16 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback. Set the Notre Dame quarterback rushing record. 16 rushing touchdowns. Almost as many rushing touchdowns as passing touchdowns. That's why you got to keep your eye on him. You have to be spying him the entire game. With the threat of the quarterback run, that opens up face-on, Greathouse, those guys to potentially get into some man-on-man coverage, and that's when you throw those play-action deep passes. Right now, Notre Dame, they're averaging 37.0 points per game. Throwing for 202.4, running for 210.7. This is the number 13 rushing team in the nation. You have to respect their ground game. Yes, they're banged up on the offensive line, but it doesn't matter. They've shown that they are able to cycle guys in. They have the depth at the line of scrimmage to still be competitive. You have to account for the Notre Dame rushing attack. They want to run the ball. The Buckeyes want to throw it to open up the run. Notre Dame wants to run it to open up the play action pass. And they have the number 3 defense, giving up 14.3 points per game, 184.1 passing yards given up per game, a top 10 secondary. Notre Dame's secondary is a ball hawking secondary. Notre Dame as a team, they lead the nation in turnovers accounted for. They live off the turnovers. They love to feast. Will Howard better be playing a good game. If he gives the ball to Notre Dame, when they get the ball, they are going to suck up clock. That's one thing the rush game gives you, time of possession. Think 8-minute possessions every time you have the ball, but they have to keep getting first downs. That's where that Ohio State front seven versus that Notre Dame line, it's going to be a competitive matchup. Where they're weak is they do give up 133 rushing yards per game. That's not necessarily the best. They do have a bend but don't break defensive front seven. They come after you, but sometimes when you blitz so much, when you get so aggressive, you get in the backfield and the play goes right past you. So there is the potential to give up some rushing yardage on the ground. But Notre Dame's fine with doing that because they trust their secondary to get tackles in space and keep you out of the end zone. Right now, looking at the playmakers for the Buckeyes, they have Will Howard, one of the best 1-2 running back combos, Henderson, Quinton Junkins. They have Smith, they have Egbuka. Those guys are first-round picks. Multiple weapons, so many weapons on offense. For Notre Dame, Leonard, they have Jeremiah Love, one of the fastest players in football. He is fully healthy right now, just under 1,200 yards. They have Greathouse face on. They don't have as good of a wide receiver core in any way whatsoever as the Buckeyes, but they do have a decent above average wide receiver core that when they need plays, that's when these guys step up as a group, and they have the running game, but they're going to live off their defense. The key for Ohio State winning this game is playing what's worked for them in the playoffs. Aggressive down the field passing. Do not come in here with the Michigan game plan or you're going to lose. Notre Dame's defensive front seven is as good as Michigan's was. They are going to eat that up. They're going to come after you. They're going to blitz you. They're going to tackle you. Tackles for a loss. Push the ball down the field. Play what's gotten you here. Do not change it. Don't try to get cute. You have so much talent. You don't need to get cute. Do what consistently works for someone to stop you at what you're good at. Strength on strength. The key for Notre Dame, let's call it what it is. And Notre Dame has to play a perfect game here. The Buckeyes are heavy favorites. They deserve to be. They have so much talent, and they've backed it up on the field. They're not an overrated team. They have lived up to those expectations. Notre Dame has to play the game of their life, and they can easily do that. I'm not saying that they can't do that, but they need to play a clean football game here. Riley Leonard, do not turn the ball over. You need to suck up the time of possession every time you have it. I don't need you to score in bunches. I don't need you to get chunk plays. I need you to suck up clock and consistently get first downs on short yardage situations. A lot of this game is going to come down to Riley Leonard. I picked Notre Dame to beat Georgia. I said they would own Georgia. They own Georgia. Notre Dame beat Penn State. They were the underdog doing the same thing. They can do it here. These teams played last year. The Buckeyes and all their talent did not come out and curb stomp Notre Dame. That game went down to the final play of the game when the clock expired. Notre Dame can compete with you in the trenches. That's what's going to keep them in this game, but they got to make sure that they are in it for all 4 quarters. They need the run game to do that. They need to tire out the Buckeyes. It's going to be easier said than done. Great game from Riley Leonard. He needs 70 to 80 yards rushing for them to win this game. He has to be a difference maker. I don't need him to throw for 270. I need him to throw for 150 and run for 70 to 80, and they have a path to win this game. For the Buckeyes, Notre Dame is going to be fine giving you chunk plays. They have the bend but don't break defense. They're going to give you yardage. They're fine with you getting down to the red zone. They don't really care. They are going to keep you out of the end zone. That is their goal here. And the Buckeyes have a questionable kicking situation. Has not bit them so far this playoffs, but we know the Buckeyes historically the last few years, when it comes down to a kick to win a game, they have not been able to step up and get it done when they need it. They are going to, if you get into those situations where you need 30 to 40 yard field goals, you got to take them. You got to take the points here. But Notre Dame is fine putting you into a kicking game situation. They just want to keep you out of that end zone. For Notre Dame, you're not going to be able to win this game off of field goals. You need to get touchdowns. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. The amount of times you get down to the end zone are going to be limited. When you get down to that red zone, you need to come back with touchdowns or you are going to lose this game. Those opportunities are going to be small. You have to take advantage of them. So what's the outcome here? To me, this game's going to be physical. It's going to be close. I think there's going to be a touchdown in the fourth quarter where the winning team pulls away. And I hate to say this, guys, but I just have to call it the way that I really honestly feel it. I have the Buckeyes winning this one 23-13. I have them covering the spread, but we're going with the under. Notre Dame can win this one, but everything needs to go right. It's gone right for them this playoffs. I have no confidence that they can get it to go right. I think it'd be really great to see Marcus Freeman win the national championship. It'd be a fun story, but I think the Buckeyes, they're built just like Notre Dame this season. These teams are very similar. I think their talent gives them the edge in the fourth quarter. They get a touchdown, some big chunk play, punch it in, and that's what pushes this game over, and they're able to win it in the fourth. That's our picks and predictions for the game, guys. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. If you have any comments on this game or anything else, please drop it below, and I will respond. Thank you.